she was struggling, but she was always persistent, always consistent. So I
Mhm.
see in every woman of the world my mom.
Hi everyone, Elle Ballard here today with you, and I have a beautiful special guest with us today, all the way from Hawaii, Vince. Hi Vince, welcome.
Aloha.
Aloha,
Aloha.
aloha.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking the time. Before we jump into this, which I know will be great, juicy conversation, I want to introduce Vince quickly. So Vince finds joy in witnessing the change of individuals and groups when they are engaged in healthy dialogue. She has a heart for small businesses and supports the missions of nonprofits to fulfill the community's needs. She has a master's degree in public administration and a bachelor's in intercommunication and public relations with certifications in conflict resolution, nonprofit management, and volunteer management from the University of Hawaii. She's a certified coach and trainer through the John Maxwell team, brain health coaching through Amen University, neuroencoding, certified development and leadership coach, and thriving women in business. She resides on the island of Oahu with her husband, Nick, and has 3 wonderful adult children carving their own journey. She tries one scary thing every year and tries one new recipe every month. That can be scary too. Welcome, Vince. With all of that said, the first question I usually like to ask, right? Why do you do what you do, and what makes you unique in doing so?
Um, the reason why I do what I do is because I went through coaching myself and I discovered it while I was a volunteer coordinator for a nonprofit. I had 300 volunteers under me. I took a 360 and they included me into a program with the Center for Creative Leadership, and American Express paid for all of it. I had no idea what coaching was.
Mhm.
When I was in the class and I did my 360, I was shocked. I thought I was a good communicator. I thought everybody loved me. Such a people pleaser. And then I discovered that I was not good with communicating with my colleagues. And I took a deep dive and looked in the mirror and told myself, how can I do better as a leader and be better at communicating with other people? And I had no idea coaching was involved. I took a year-long coaching and then I went into my master's and I got into conflict resolution. Like, oh, this is it. And I told my professor, why isn't this taught everywhere? And he said to me, that's your job now. Your job is to carry this and create peace and harmony with everyone in every organization. And I took that as a mission to bring that to
Mhm.
anyone who is willing to listen and willing to collaborate with me on a mission of peace.
Yeah, and it's very beautiful niche that's needed. So tell us, where are you from and how has your background limited or favored you?
I grew up on the island of Kauai. My father was an immigrant from the Philippines right after World War II. And then my mother was born on Kauai, but she went back to the Philippines and they were in the middle of the war. When they came back to Kauai, my father came first, right after the war. My mother and my sister came 25 years later. And so it was very difficult but they instilled in us the love of learning and educating ourselves and really holding that close to us. I also have a disability. I only have one leg, and that I had to overcome a lot of that. In the early years, they noticed that I wasn't a good speaker.
Mhm.
So I had Easter seals help me with my speech and really reading to me a lot and really being involved in my upbringing. So I credit nonprofits to a lot of what I am today, as
Mhm.
well as my parents. But it's overcoming and having the love of God and instilling that in me and having our faith too is what helps me to carry on.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
sharing that story about your upbringing and all the lessons. As building a business, right? As a multinational woman, and this is, Women of the World Network, Empowered Global Women in Business podcast. And I love to discuss all the lessons, and you've kind of touched on the personal lessons, right? But all the lessons that we learn as we are building our own businesses and our own lives, what was one of the biggest lessons you had to learn while building a business and a life as a multinational woman?
Building a business is hard. It's difficult. Staying consistent, and you do need to sell every week. You are your own brand. You have to do your taxes.
Yeah.
It's all the back end stuff that no one explained to you. Of course, I love coaching, I love speaking, I love training, but all of those other nitty gritty stuff, it's not handled by someone. It has to be handled by
Right.
me.
That needs to be taken care of.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's like the biggest lesson. And, finding the right person to help me with my taxes was difficult. I've had to go through three other people,
Yeah.
and I had to be more savvy about business, about trusting my gut. If the client is not my client, then that's okay. I have
Yeah.
to release that client. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great lesson, right? To be able to delegate what you do
Mm-hmm.
and then leave what you are really good at, or your strengths. And I can totally relate, of course, because there are so many things on a daily basis that we have to do and that we can be doing as well. That
Mm-hmm.
shiny object, right? And everything. And so staying focused in the midst of all of it and really focus on your goal, on your mission, uh,
Mm-hmm.
on your revenue goals. And I love how you reminded everyone, all the listeners, the sales in your own business, that's the lifeblood, right? Like apart from everything else we have to do, but really, that has to be number one priority.
Yes.
And if to grow the business and sustain the business. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, giving that reminder to have the right people who have your back and
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
really have expertise in specific fields that we are, constantly growing, right? And building a
Yes.
business so that we
Yes.
can fully rely on them so we can do our part.
I learned from you community, and I learn from women all the time. I mean, I'm in a different network with other men and women, but being in a community that's so supportive of other women, we don't know the struggles that we have, right? We silo ourselves in our business because that has been male dominated all these years. But we women need community, and
Mhm.
women of the world provides that so much, that we rely on each other and support one another. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being such a shining example, Elle.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, Vince. Yeah, thank you. And this actually leads to my next question perfectly. Yeah, what does it mean for you? And as a leader, as an amazing leader who was recognized the leader of the month, in the island of Hawaii, in the state of Hawaii, um, for helping us support more women. You, Vince, also such a great leadership example. What does it mean for you to be a woman of the world?
When I have those one-to-one meetings, and even being in the community online, it's recognizing that everyone has a story, and
Mm,
everyone brings whether it's their struggles or their successes,
yeah.
into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And you are encouraged and uplifted by that they have overcome a lot. And I love when the women share, like, I became a director, or I was able to book a client. Thrill and that experience, that I'm like, oh, wonderful. That's a wonderful thing that you did. And I love the connections that the women start to make. And being a woman of the world is having that connection all over the world. And I experienced that going to the Philippines doing medical mission. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to go again, and having that connection with other women in those villages that like affected me. And I
Mm,
want to help other women in that way. Then they bring that back to their homes and into their community, and they share what they can, right? Like, we're not alone. We're here
right.
together.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we can grow together. We can achieve great things when we are together. And yeah, and also I love how you said, seeing other women succeed, right, and achieve And having done that, such a great example for other women to kind of follow the steps. So I love your heart, and I love your how you share your passion and heart with our mission of the organization as well.
I see every woman as my mother, like having to navigate speaking English in the United
Mhm.
States, and then her creating her own businesses. She was a seamstress, she was a gardener. You know, she created like all these little side businesses,
Yeah.
and she had to like overcompensate for a lot of her inability to speak English. So she
Mhm.
was struggling, but she was always persistent, always consistent. So I
Mhm.
see in every woman of the world my mom.
So I wanna take us back to what you are doing today, and kind of share a little bit more. And by the way, if you're listening to this conversation, we will post links how to connect with Vince. Please connect with her. She's doing amazing work in the world. But how long did it take you? And that's such a, it's a question on niche, because we all want to just follow what our strengths are, right? What follow our purpose and what we are good at, truly good at, and what we're supposed to be doing. So how long did you take to find your niche, and your voice in this field of coaching that you are doing today and what you're doing today?
It took me quite a while and I'm still discovering it. And I I took my certification with John Maxwell 2017. And I was, you know, Elle is also a Maxwell leadership coach. You're in a room of thousands of people, right? Like, how can I be
Right.
unique in this room? And like, I'm giving out his information, doing his trainings. I'm like,
Mhm.
how can this be unique to me?
Yeah.
And I started creating the niche of conflict resolution and having more classes about having better and effective communication within the workplace. And now I see it. I see the vision. And I've had a lot of coaches. I've had a marketing coach, a sales coach, a business coach, a life coach. And they're always saying, let's find the one thing that you can do that you do well. Something clicked. I saw like a little news piece and realized it's humanity and leadership. When
Mhm.
we see everyone as a human first
Yeah.
and not put labels on them, that's when I see leadership really thrive and bring along people in the organization. So
Mm.
now I'm going to start launching that part of that.
Uh-huh.
So it took that long to find my niche.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes time. But once you find it, it's a joy every day, right? Because you are doing
Yes.
the work you're supposed to be doing, place to your
Hmm.
strengths and your experience. I love that. And I feel like you're doing exactly, what you're supposed to be doing, and bringing that into organizations and trainings and all of that. So I want to take us to the next section of our conversation,
Mm-hmm.
is the rapid fire questions.
Yes. I'm a
So,
little bit nervous.
oh yeah, it's going to be great.
Okay. Okay.
It's going to be great. And it's only 5 questions.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not that bad. I promise. So the first question is, your favorite book name is?
The Blue Highway.
I haven't read that one.
I read it when I was 13. I think it was around 300 pages. But the writer, and he's American Indian, very, very descriptive. He paints the picture so well. But I was fascinated by his focus on a
Mhm.
slug that crossed the highway.
Ah,
He had one chapter on this slug. I don't like slugs. How can a person write so much on just one
this one.
subject? But he was connecting, right, with the world. He was
Yeah.
connecting with that creature.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is amazing. It's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah, you
Like,
mentioned you were 13, you read it, and it's interesting.
and this connection, right? He has a connection to the universe, to the earth, to
Yeah.
himself, and to the creature.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, beach or mountains?
Oh gosh, beach, because I'm a water baby.
Yeah. Yeah, you're living in the right place for that. Favorite international destination to visit?
I would love to go to France, and I'm hoping to go next year. But so far I've been to the Philippines. So I love the Philippines.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Summer or winter?
Ooh, I am in Hawaii. I like the warmth, but not too hot.
Mhm.
But lately, we went to Vegas to do snowboarding and skiing, and I loved the temperature. So
Yeah. So it is more of a summer.
yes,
Yeah. Okay, and the last question is things that you have discovered about yourself recently.
I just passed my International Coaching Federation.
Congratulations.
Yes, credentialing.
That's
And
great.
so now I'm legitimate. And now I have a body that's actually watching over me. And I feel like, okay, I didn't know all my resources and I found the resource at the 11th hour before the exam. It's a 3-hour exam. I understand that I can push through. I can get over this, or I have the ability and the education
Yeah.
and the will to really get through this. So
Yeah. Awesome.
even though it wasn't the best score, it was a score that passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations. And
Thank you.
that's such a great self-discovery, such a great self-awareness too. Even for that reason, it was worth taking exam. Of course, you need a certification, right? But just having that proof to yourself that I can really do anything I put my mind to. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. I love
And
that.
I love elevating the profession of coaching and having it legitimate in the eyes of professionals.
Well, Vince, if you wanted to share, as we are concluding here, if you wanted to share with our listeners how they can connect with you.
I will post it for you
Uh-huh.
and I will also share it. But Bamboo Shoot High is my Instagram, and I believe my TikTok, and Bamboo Shoot is on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And also my website is bambooshoot.co.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. And we will post those links for all of our listeners so they can connect with you. Again, thank you so much for taking the time, Vince. Always
Yes,
great to talk to you.
thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, Elle.